How should you learn the fretboard on your guitar, and how should you learn scales? The answer is the same for both questions. Finger position patterns. And why is that? It's because they're comprehensive. They cover all the bases. You can get to caged very quickly. If you already know caged, you know most of this concept already, or at least most of the patterns within it. You can also shift to 3 notes per string, which seems to be the competing idea of how you should learn scales in some circles. It's very easy to get there from this system, because really all it is playing one of these patterns till you get to the high strings, then you got to shift up to the next pattern. And then you get 3 notes per string for all these scales. It makes them symmetrical, makes you able to sweep, etc., etc. But learning this system is like getting your foot in the door for that. Not only in the door, but like you're already in the C-suite at that point. You have very little left to accomplish. You just need to work those shifts in, okay? So if you want to understand caged, if you want to understand 3 notes per string, and you're willing to put in the work, this is the way to do it, right? Finger position scale patterns. If any of this sounds of interest, if you want to get better at guitar, smash my subscribe button. Find me on TikTok at The Unreal Mark Albion, or Instagram at mark.albion. Facebook is a cesspool, but I am on there, so if that's your preferred platform, I'm just Mark Albion. I also release shorts here on YouTube, so if you're following me here, you should see most of everything I put everywhere else. I did a short this morning on the first scale pattern of this. That's how I'm going to teach the scale patterns one at a time through shorts. This is the concept behind it all. First off, there's something very important to talk about that this is based on. That's the idea that scales are abstract. They're just patterns. Whole, whole, half, whole, 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 half, right? As soon as we are playing, they actually become modes, okay? So it's important to separate this in your brain. A scale pattern is a pattern that gives you a set of intervals above a starting point, okay? A mode is a group of notes above a tonal center, and that group of notes is a group of tensions and resolutions. It's a mix of them, okay? Depending on what your tonal center is, you can use the same exact group of notes, and your tensions and your resolutions change. That's really what makes a mode, okay? So if I play a G major scale over an A drone, I get a Dorian mode, because the tensions and resolutions of the G major scale are forced over an A bass. The foundation is A. That's our tonal center. And now the tensions are going to become like a major second, a minor third, a perfect fourth, a perfect fifth, a minor sixth, and a minor seventh, rather than a major third, major second, major third, perfect fourth, perfect fifth, major sixth, major seventh, and tonic. Right? You get different tensions and resolutions over those. When I say resolutions, the chord of G, if I play chords, if I play G major over G, I can land on a G, a B, or a D. And those are chord tones. Everything can resolve to those notes. They are different resolutions, but they're not tensions. There's no tension because the chord involves them. Everything else is some sort of tension, whether that's the 9, the 11, or the 13. The major 7 is sort of a blend. It depends on what's being played, right? So any note that's in the chord is a resolution. Any note that's not in the chord is a tension. The group together becomes a mode over that chord. If that's confusing, hit that subscribe button. Let me know. We're happy to do a video to explain more of that in a better way. I'm happy to help with some private lessons if that's what you prefer. We can talk about technique that way too, because that's a sort of an animal for each person, right? By which I mean technique is like a spirit animal. If you watch Greg Howe's fingers, you wonder how he can play such incredible stuff. It's like he only uses 2 fingers, which isn't true. Greg Howe's incredible. I'm not putting him down. All right, so if you're following me thus far, let's move on to this system that we're talking about. So finger position scales follow some rules, right? Basically, we're going to lay out whatever scale pattern we're using, and in our case, it's a major scale pattern, on this low string. And of the 7 distinct notes, we're going to build a pattern off of each one. And on each string, they follow a formula. You get 3 notes on your low string, low E. You get 3 notes on your low A string. You get 3 notes on your D string. The G and B strings aren't always the same, but between the 2 of them, there's always 5 notes. So you either get 3 on G and 2 on B, or the other way around, 2 on G, 3 on B. You're going to get 3 notes on your high E string. It's going to look just like your low string, right? There's no shifting. Just stay in one position and do that, and you get a pattern, right? And if I do that, I get this pattern for G. Now you'll notice I'm stretching here. There's some stretching involved and on the high E string. If you're not good at that stretching, this is a great way to start doing it. Okay, that's the formula for the scales. The idea behind the scale and mode thing. Now, what you want to do is learn all 7 of those patterns and then choose. Do I want to apply those patterns to drones and learn my modes and stuff like that? I.e., if I put an F-sharp drone on but play a G major scale, I'll get a Locrian sound out of it, right? We can train our ears to understand these sounds by putting a drone on. I highly suggest here on YouTube, Bone Zone Studio. It's a trombone page. They have a playlist of all the tuning drones you could ever need. Or your other option is to start learning the arpeggios inside of each pattern, arpeggios and chord shapes. So that would look like this. I always do 7ths. You're welcome to do triads if you want. So this would be your G major 7. And then A minor 7. I have to think about this a little bit. I guess I need to practice this, don't I? That feels like I shouldn't have to do that. This is your B minor 7. Right? So that's your first chord, second chord, and third chord. And once you're comfortable with that, then you're going to do that in your second position, but you'll start with A minor. You'll notice I got a different pattern out of that, even with the wrong notes. I hope you can notice that. Wrong notes are free, by the way, only today. And that's really what you want to do with this. So hit that subscribe button. Find me on TikTok. Find me on Instagram. Again, TikTok at the Unreal Mark Albion. I'll put some links and stuff. On Instagram at mark.albion. You can find tons of videos where I talk about certain things already. But I would love to know what people want to learn because there's so much out here on the internet. I know there are gaps. I just haven't found them all yet. So I love you all. I hope this video helped. If it did, please follow. If you can throw me any support, likes, comments, following, sharing, any of that is much appreciated. I love you all. Happy practicing. I hope this is helpful. Have a good day.